Welcome back. In this video, we're going to explore how to design 5 essential R&B sounds using Serum. R&B is all about emotion, space, and texture. The sounds are smooth, expressive, and often minimal, but very intentional. Whether you're producing modern R&B, trap soul, or alternative R&B, the right sound design can instantly elevate your track. Today, we'll build everything from scratch inside Serum. A soft analog-style pad, a warm electric piano, a silky lead, bells, and a textured pluck. Let's get started.
We'll begin with a foundational sound, a soft, emotional pad. Initialize Serum. For Oscillator A, select Basic Shapes Waveform. Lower the unison to around 5 voices and slightly detune it by around 0.11. Keep it subtle. We want width, not chaos. Set the level to 55%. Go to envelope 1 and set the attack to about 800 milliseconds. And set the release to 450 milliseconds. Also, set the sustain to -5.3 dB. Drag LFO 1 to the pan and set it to about 69%. Drag LFO 2 to fine on Oscillator 1 and set it to 5. On LFO 2, uncheck BPM and anchor and set the rate to 2.9 Hz. Now let's drag the LFO 3 to the level on Oscillator 1 to about 15. Uncheck the BPM and anchor and set the rate to 2.3 Hz.
On Matrix in Source, choose Note Number, and in the destination, go to LFOs and choose LFO 3 Rate. And set the amount to 23. On Filter 1, increase the cutoff to 728 Hz. Finally, add effects. Let's start with hyperdimension. Set the wet to 14. Set the size to 15. And set the mix to about 15 as well. Now let's add the chorus. Set LPF to about 3428. Set the mix to 22%. Let's add reverb. Set the mix to about 15%.
Next, let's create a Rhodes-style electric piano. Initialize Serum again. Start with Oscillator A in the table editor. And Oscillator B as well. On Oscillator A, select the FM noise oscillator and set the modulation range to 41%. Set the blend to 70. On envelope 1, set the decay to 3.04 seconds. and set the attack, hold, and sustain to 0, and set the release to 424. And let's assign it to the level on oscillator A, B, and the noise as well. With modulation range around 89. Now, lower the level on oscillators A and B to 0. On the LFO1, set to free mode with a rate of 0.3. Now assign a note to the rate and a modulation range of 16. Let's assign LFO1 to the pan on oscillator 1 with a modulation range to around 60. Now, go to LFO2 and let's assign it to the level on oscillator A. Set the level to 0 with a modulation range of 12. Turn on the filter, select MG Low 12.
Set the drive to 0. Also, set the resonance to 0. And set the cutoff to 668 Hz. And turn on routes A and B and noise. Let's assign velocity to the drive with a modulation range of 23. And also, we're going to assign velocity to the cutoff with a modulation range of 15. On oscillator B, add 6 voices to unison. Then set the detune to 0.15. And set the wavetable to 1 on oscillator B. Let's assign velocity to the wavetable with a modulation range of 47. Let's turn on the noise oscillator and select Glassilled 5. Now let's turn on the sub and set the level to 25%. And set the level and pan to 0. Then assign LFO2 to the level on oscillator A with a modulation range of 12. Now pitch to 12. Now enable pitch tracking and enable one-shot mode. Go to the effects. Let's turn on distortion and turn on post. And set the mix to 50. Turn on the EQ. Turn on the EQ and set the high EQ frequency to 2,277 Hz. And set the Q to 61%. Now, set the EQ frequency low to 210 Hz. And set the Q to 41%. Now, turn on the chorus, turn on the BPM, set the mix to 27. And turn on the reverb, select a plate, and set the mix to 17. That's it. Now, let's design a smooth R&B lead. Initialize Serum. Let's choose basic shapes for the waveform. Now turn on the mono and legato modes and portamento.
Add LFO1 over to the top of what it's called fine, and pull your range down to about 10. Turn off BPM, set the rate to 5.8, and set the delay to 1.5. Go to Effects, let's turn on Reverb. That's it. Let's initialize Serum. Go to Analog and select a basic shape in Oscillator A. That's it. Keep it simple. The pitch 2 octaves up. Adjust the level to 45%. The phase is around 120. Add 2 voices in unison and set the detune to 0.02. Turn on the sub-oscillator and pitch it up 2 octaves and set the level to 45%. On the envelope, lower the sustain all the way down to 0 and both the decay and the release to 2 seconds. Set the attack to 10. Now let's turn on Oscillator B. Go to Digital and choose FFT Add Thirds. And set the level to 25%. Then pitch it up 3 octaves. And set the fine parameter to 7. Add 3 voices to unison. And set the detune to 0.09. And set the phase to about 210. Then set the wavetable position to 10. On envelope 2, set the decay to 1.2 seconds. Let's add 30% of sustain. And set the release to 1.5. Drag envelope 2 to Oscillator B's level. Make it bipolar with a modulation range around 50. Now turn on the noise oscillator. Select Glass Lid 4 Noise. And enable one-shot mode and pitch tracking. Set the pitch to 26 semitones and set the level to 85%. Next, turn on the filter and select LH12. Turn the resonance down and adjust fat to 50%. Next, set the cutoff to 2500 kHz. Drag envelope 1 to the cutoff. And set the modulation amount to around 30. And route all the oscillators into it. Now let's set LFO1 to free mode with a rate of 1 Hz.
and assign it to the Oscillator A phase parameter with a modulation range around 25. Next, assign LFO2 to Oscillator 2's fine parameter with a modulation range around 10. Go to the Effects, and let's add distortion. We will use tap saturation. Set the drive to 14%, and the mix is around 50%.
Turn on the filter in post mode with the frequency at the max and Q to the minimum. Now let's add some reverb. Set the low cut to 28%. Set the mix to 25%. Now let's add hyper with one voice. Set the size to 18. Set the wet-dry mix to 24. And set the mix to 18. Let's add some chorus. Set delay 1 all the way down to 0. Set the depth to 1.1. Set the feed to 0. And set the low-pass filter of the chorus to around 277 Hz. Set the mix to 17%. Let's now add a delay. Now, set the delay frequency to 769. And set the delay bandwidth to 1.4. Also, set the left channel to 0.986. And the right is 1.015. And set the feedback to 31%. Now let's add EQ. Set the gain to -6.4 dB.
Set the frequency to 670 Hz. And set the Q to about 52. Now set the frequency high to 5110 and set Q high to 45. Finally, set the gain high to -2.4 dB. Now go to Matrix and let's assign velocity to control the amp and set the macro to 49. Let's drag velocity to the cutoff and set the modulation amount to around 20. And drag the velocity on the wavetable on Oscillator B and set the modulation amount to around 40. Click on LFO3 and select Flip Vertically and set it to free mode with a rate of 4.1 Hz. Then go back to the Effects tab. Now click on the mix meter on the delay. Then assign LFO3 to a bipolar level of 50. Head over to the Matrix tab and assign Macro 1 to control modulation depth on LFO3 aux source. Let's add Macro 2 to modulate LFO3 rate and set the modulation range to 4.
Then assign macro 3 to envelope 1 decay and release times, and set the modulation range to 15. Finally, let's go back to effects and add a filter. And let's assign macro 4 to control the cutoff. And set the modulation range to -51. That's it.
Finally, let's create a modern R&B pluck. Initialize Serum. Use a basic shape in Oscillator A. Go to envelope 1, raise the decay a bit, and sustain all the way down to 0. And raise the release to 67. Turn on the noise and choose J60. Then enable pitch tracking. Go to the main and pick Direct. Drag envelope 2 in the noise level and set it to about 36%. And on envelope 2, set the sustain all the way down to 0. And set the decay to about 37. Raise the release a bit. Now go to the effects. Add a compressor and set it to multiband. Set the below to about 0.9759. And set the gain to about 11.5. And also set the release to 281. And set the attack to 124. Finally, set the threshold to -21.5. Now let's add hyper/dimension and set the mix to 82. And set the mix all the way down. And set the size to 2. That's it. And there you have it. 5 essential R&B sounds made entirely in Serum. A soft, evolving pad, a warm electric piano, a silky, expressive lead, a deep sub-bass, and a textured pluck. These sounds form the core of many modern R&B productions. The key is not just the sound itself, but how you play it, arrange it, and leave space around it. Please like and subscribe for more tutorials like this. Let me know in the comments which other genres or synth techniques you'd like to explore next. Thank you for watching, and keep creating.